The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this morning's helpline session with your host, James McDonald.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and I'd like to welcome everybody to our open session here today. This is our helpline where, as you know, we can discuss anything you like. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope you had a great week last week. Hope that you participated in the various webinars that we did and had a chat with your coach would be great as well. What we're doing here this morning, as always, is an open forum free-for-all. We can discuss anything you want. You want to do some role-playing, you want to talk about your ads, you want to talk about setting up any systems or USPs, you want to talk about getting some help. It doesn't matter. Anything at all that you want to discuss, you bring it up, and we will have a spirited discussion right here and right now regarding anything you like. Keep it clean. Andrea, that's our number one rule, right?
That is.
That is. Okay, now, I also want to remind everybody that if you go onto the coaching website, you'll see all of the upcoming, the different boot camps, the different training events that we're doing in 2016. You might want to take a look at that to plan the year a little bit in terms of your calendar so that nothing comes up as a surprise. We do throughout the year, we have, of course, the big super conferences where we do breakout sessions throughout for all of the coaching members. You do want to make a plan to be there. In April, in Anaheim, for example, and other events throughout the year, you've already paid for this, so it's not like we're selling this. We're suggesting that those live events really will pay dividends. They'll help you understand this so much more thoroughly so that when you go back, you can just do a better job. So anyway, I just want to make sure that none of this creeps up on anybody by surprise. So do take a look at the upcoming events calendar and make sure you block some of this time off and make plans to be there. Coming up later this week, as always, on Thursday, Craig and I are going to do some role-playing with you on our role-play session. And then on Friday, we'll do an ad clinic. This past Friday, we had Lester Cox from Phoenix. Many of you know Lester. You're being coached by Lester, perhaps. And Craig and Lester did an ad clinic session on Friday showing some new ideas, some newer marketing approaches that you might want to take a look at as well. But what we're going to do this coming Friday is we're going to look at what you're running. So make sure you upload your ads. We've already got several ads that you've sent in from last week that we didn't get a chance to look at, so we'll take a look at those as well, and that'll be this Friday. Okay, having said that, we're going to start with anybody that has any questions they want to type into the chat, Andrea, and I'll let you monitor that. But also, of course, if you have a working mic through the webinar, on your telephone, what have you, we can actually have a conversation like human beings do. And we'll just take as many questions, comments, topics of discussion as time permits. So, Andrea, let's crank it up.
Okay, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and type your question or click the yellow hand icon if you do have a mic or on the telephone. Our first question comes from Joseph, and he needs a little clarification on timing and follow-up. And what he says is, I'm so sorry, my screen just jumped. What he says is, if the seller prospect says they're going to sell in 3 to 6 months, are we supposed to close for an appointment even though they are not selling for 3 to 6 months?
You really shouldn't. You really shouldn't, because if they're not going to be putting their home on the market when you go and meet with them, what it means that you're going over there and you're going to give them a presentation where the natural conclusion of the presentation is for them to sign the listing, but of course their timing isn't right, so you're doing it prematurely. And this is the difference between a buyer and a seller prospect. See, when the seller signs the contract, their home is on the market. When a buyer signs a buyer contract, they don't have to buy anything immediately. They can look around, but they're not purchasing anything, right? They're just looking. And of course, the contract can be 6 months, it can be a year. So it would be appropriate to sign a buyer to a contract even if they weren't buying anything for 3 to 6 months. It would be perfectly okay because they don't have to. But the same is not true on the seller side. So what we want to do with the seller is we want to make sure that we put in place safeguards to make sure that we follow up with that seller at a more appropriate time. And that's why we have the gold plan. Okay, the gold plan follow-up system would be for a seller like that who they're not going to be putting their home on the market for another 3 months, let's call it. So we don't want to book an appointment now because we know they're not going to be putting their home on the market. What we'd rather do is we'd rather follow up with them. So we can send them a snapshot of home sales in their community. But what we can also do is we can call them back in half the time. So we'll give them a call back in a month. And in a month, that phone conversation will revolve around more information, perhaps another snapshot of what's selling in the community, in their neighborhood, etc. But the gold plan is a series of weekly mailings. So every week they're going to get a mailing from you. Okay. Now Andrea is showing you the gold plan system right now. Every week they're going to receive something in the mail, actual mail from you, that is going to be useful to somebody who's preparing to sell their home. For example, a moving checklist, all of the things that they would need to consider. What these tools are designed to do is it makes it easier when you call the prospect back. You have a reason you're calling them back. You're calling them. The conversation revolves around the fact that you've not only spoken with them before, but you've been sending them valuable information that they're looking for. And really, slowly but surely over time, you're really establishing yourself as with top of mind consciousness as their realtor. So it makes the appointment that much easier. Now, here's another way I would answer that question. If I'm following up with a seller and they say, look, we're not going to be putting our house on the market for probably 3 to 6 months, what I say is, where are you moving to? Where are you planning on moving? And if they say, well, we're staying locally, I say, have you already bought? Have you already purchased? No. Why are you looking? Yeah, we're looking. Immediately, I go from this is a seller prospect to this is a buyer prospect, right? They're highly likely not selling their home and then remaining homeless. They're very likely buyers. Now, they might say, well, we're moving out of state. Okay, well, if they're moving out of state, well, then you can't really help them. Perhaps you could refer them to another realtor out of state. But if they're staying locally, what you want to do is you want to convert that seller as a buyer. When would you book that buyer appointment? Right now, immediately. And it would be appropriate for you to do that. Okay, so there are 2 ways of looking at this. The best way is if it's a seller and they're not selling for 3 to 6 months, but they're staying locally, then you want to get them signed to a buyer contract and set up a buyer appointment with them. And that makes perfect sense. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be looking right now, and you can help them do that. So you book an appointment with them, and you could book an appointment at their home. And you can say to them, hey, while I'm there, I can take a look at your property and give you an accurate evaluation in terms of what your home would likely sell for, point out some helpful tips. We can go over a net sheet. It'll be really helpful. And it's free and there's no obligation, and I'm flexible. When would be a good time? And you book an appointment all day long, get them signed to the buyer contract, and now the likeliness of you getting their listing is huge. The other side is, well, they are a seller, but they've already purchased new construction, they're moving out of the area, whatever the situation is. With that seller, you're going to follow up with them by calling them in half the time they indicate they're looking to do something, and you're going to set them up on your gold plan follow-up system so that every single week they're receiving valuable information from you that helps establish you as the provider of information. It makes following up with them a lot more comfortable and easy for you. All right, so those are the 2 ways that we're going to address that particular question. All right, what's next, Drea?
Our next question, I have 2 members who are asking about BXL. And the first question is, their website is under construction, and how would they order business cards or postcards? And my suggestion would be to give them a call. And there's a possibility
honestly, though, I don't know if, you can order your business cards from BXL, but you could also do it from a local printer as well. I mean, they just need to know what the business cards need to look like. Right. So now, perhaps with the postcards, using BXL is a good idea because they've already got the templates, and we know that they're done perfectly. So, using BXL would be a really good idea. But for something like a business card, you can use BXL, but honestly, you could probably go to a local printer. Now, there is one other one other strong advantage, and I'm not certain on the BXL website what their prices are quoted in, but you know that right now BXL is a Canadian company, and right now the exchange rate is pretty high. What I mean by that is a dollar US is worth about $1.40 something Canadian. Okay, so if an American is ordering from BXL and you're paying in Canadian dollars, you're really getting a 30-40% discount on the price. So that would be another strong reason to call BXL. Aside from the biggest point, which is if you're ordering postcards, you know that they're correct. All of the BXL postcards are done to Craig's specifications, so you're getting a good quality postcard.
Well, and then Ellen's question sort of coincides with that, and she says, I need to know whether I have the right to use Craig's postcard designs from BXL with my own print or graphic artist. She's asking if there are any copyright issues.
No, you have everybody on this webinar has copywritten permission to use all of the Craig Proctor material. Now, obviously the idea is, if you're going to take this to your own printer and share with them what they want, they can copy whatever you give them. They might want to know that you have copywritten permission to do this, but I am here telling you, you do. All right, everybody has signed a contract. If you look at your coaching agreement, if you look at the agreement that you signed when you came to this conference in the first place, it all states that what you are purchasing is license permission for you to personally use the Craig Proctor material. So that's really a non-issue. We're just saying, hey, you know what? Going to BXL is easier because they've already got all the templates for all of these postcards, and we know it's done right. And that goes a long way, obviously.
And just to reiterate, yes, some of their pages are under construction, so just give them a call, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you out with what you need. Our next question comes from Sarah, and she says, I've been on a few listing appointments in the past 2 weeks, and the presentation goes well, the evaluation goes well, and then I pull out my commission price menu, and I get the objection, we need to think about it. How should she turn this around?
Okay, so what you're suggesting then is that the objection is commission. Here's how you first of all, you need to isolate the objection. In other words, you can't overcome an objection if you don't know what the objection is. So right now in your head, you think the objection is your commission, but maybe it isn't. This is why the way that the presentation is designed is you go through all of the various unique selling propositions. You go through the process, you go through the performance guarantees, you go through any of the additional unique services that you offer, your buyers in waiting program, maybe you do a Sunday tour of homes, whatever it is. You show statistical data. Once you've concluded your presentation, the way we want to isolate the objection is this. We want to be able to say, provided that you and I can come to an agreement on pricing your property effectively and on my fee. Putting that aside, if we can come to an agreement on those two things, would you like me to handle this for you? Would you like me to represent you? Would you like me to help you? Now, if they say, well, we're not sure, we need to think about it, then what you know is your presentation wasn't strong enough. There was an area in the presentation that clearly didn't differentiate you enough. Because what they should say at that point is, yeah, if we can come to an agreement on pricing, it depends on what you say about pricing and your fee. Well, okay, good. But at least what they're saying is, you're the one. Your presentation clearly put you head and shoulders above everybody else. So now at least you're in a better position to negotiate effectively the pricing of the property and on your fee. But we need to understand if that really is the objection. So here's a suggestion that I might make. You should try, when that happens, you should try to use the cancellation guarantee, all right? Because what that does is it isolates their stated objection. We need to think about it. Okay, so what if you were able to answer it like this? Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you know what? I think that's a really good idea that you think about this. I've shared a lot of information with you here, and I know that you anticipate a certain job that I'm going to do for you, and I may or may not meet your expectations, and I understand that that's a big decision. So here's what I want to do. I have a cancellation guarantee. And what it states in writing here is that if at any point in time, whether that's tomorrow, whether that's next week, whether that's next month, at any point in time, if you feel like I'm not doing the job that you anticipated I would do, that you're not stuck under contract with a realtor who isn't meeting your expectations. This is for your peace of mind, so that every night you can think about it. And if you've come to the conclusion that maybe you've made a mistake, I don't want you to feel stuck. As a matter of fact, I want to turn this around. I want the onus to be on me to exceed your expectations every day. And if I don't exceed your expectations, knowing that you can cancel and you can go elsewhere without any penalty whatsoever. There's no cost penalty, no penalty at all. The onus is 100% on me. Now, I will suggest to you that any other realtors that you interviewed will not offer you the same cancellation guarantee. Once you sign with them, you're locked in with them and you're stuck with whatever service they provide to you. Does that sound fair to you? Now, I think that 9 times out of 10, that is going to handle. If the objection is anything other than your fee, then that really does handle the objection. Because the objection is, well, I could be making a mistake. I don't know if what you're saying, I don't know if you're going to be all that you're cracked up to be. The cancellation guarantee really does a good job. What it's going to help you do is isolate. And if they say, okay, that's all great, we're more concerned with your fee. Of course, you've got to negotiate your fee. There's no question about that. Point is, the better job you do with the presentation and the better you get with the presentation, the more in a position you are to negotiate a higher fee, because they want you based on your value. And, in the presence of value, sure, it's a negotiation, but people are willing to pay a bit more money to get more. So this is really where you're at right now in the presentation. If you've used the presentation twice and you're not awesome at it, that's called normal. That's not a big deal. You'll get better and better and better and better, and you'll display more and more competence and confidence. And as you do, negotiating your fee will become easier and easier and easier, because you're discussing your fee with people who want you. They want to hire you. They see the value in everything that you do that is different from the average ordinary realtor. And so that's just the position you're at right now. I would suggest doing some research. And if you look on the coaching website, you'll find plenty of information about the ultimate listing presentation and some webinars that Craig has done that I think will really help you sort of fast, take a shortcut to, to perfection.
Yes, and as of last week, all of our members have been through Craig's live webinar where he does the listing presentation. So you should have received that in your email, and if not, just look for it on the coaching site and you can download it.
Yeah, that I would do a little homework, and I would do that, but again, I mean, this is a learning curve, and you'll get better and better and better and better, and it will come through loud and clear to the prospect. And once that happens, you'll find that everything else falls into place that much easier. Great question.
Okay. Afshin types in, what if we just focus on listing ads? So when we have listing, buyers will show up.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so if you run an ad, a listing ad, now when you say a listing ad, do you mean advertising your listings, or do you mean advertising to get listings, right? Let's call that a seller ad, an ad to attract sellers, or a buyer ad, an ad designed to attract buyers. What the point is that what marketing does, regardless of what you're trying to do, marketing attracts prospects. So in other words, if I were to run a seller ad, and my seller ad said, find out the value of your home online, and a prospect responds because they want to know the value of their home, and I follow up with them and say, are you thinking about selling your home? And they say yes. And I say, well, if you were to sell, would you be staying here locally, or would you be moving out of the area? And they say, oh no, we're staying in the area. And I say, oh, would you prefer to find your next home before you put your present home on the market? And they say, well, that's what we're doing now. We're looking around, when we find the right property, then we'll put our home up for sale. Okay, so here's my question. They responded to a seller ad, but what are they? Are they a buyer or a seller? And the answer is, well, they're both, but they're a buyer first. So even though that prospect responded to a seller ad, they're still a buy first prospect. The fact that you're advertising for a buyer doesn't mean that buyer doesn't also have a home to sell. So the way you want to think of your marketing is this. My marketing is designed to attract prospects. That's what it's designed to do. And I can kind of shape the kind of prospects that I'm generating, but they're still just prospects. And the only way that I can determine how good they are or what their motivation is or their timing is I have to talk to them. I've got to speak with them. And then when I talk to them, then I'm going to discover, okay, where is this prospect at? Where does their motivation lie? Does their motivation lie in selling their home? Does it lie in finding a home? Where are they on the spectrum? What's their timing look like? You know, that can only happen with our phone conversation with the prospect. But the only way we can have that phone conversation is we need to attract them in the first place. So your job is to experiment and test all kinds of different offers in all kinds of different mediums and get that message medium match to attract the prospects, and then do a really good job in following up with the prospects and helping people. Good question.
Again, I'd like to remind everybody we will take audio questions when we get them. Go ahead and click the hand icon you see if you have a mic or a telephone, if you're connected with a telephone today. Now, Douglas, he has a question, but I believe we're going to need a little bit more clarification. He says, having lots of trouble converting leads from Success website to Commissions Inc. Now, I'm not sure really what he means by that. So, Douglas, either raise your hand or type in a little clarification so we can answer more thoroughly.
Converting from Success, in other words, converting the lead as in taking a lead that has come from Success website and importing it into you're using Commissions Inc. as your contact management system. So you mean literally converting it, or do you mean conversion in terms of converting the lead using the universal callback script? Because there are two different things, but the answer to this second question, the leads are the same. Any prospect that has requested information, doesn't matter whether they've gone on your website and they've searched properties or whatever it is, they've requested information from you through your website. When you call them up, what you're saying is, the reason I'm calling is because you had requested information on my website searching for properties for sale. Just wanted to follow up with you and let you know, you've got full access to upcoming properties or available properties on the market. By the way, are you thinking about making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? It's the same. It doesn't matter what information the prospect was looking for. We can call them and say, I'm calling as a courtesy because you were looking for information. Now, in terms of the first part of the question,
yes, indeed, to
how
clarify,
do I take the lead and import it?
Right, to clarify that, he's saying they don't work together from one site to the other.
Right, so taking a lead from Success website and importing it into the contact management system that you use on Commissions Inc. doesn't work. Oh, right. Well, I'm certainly not in a position to argue whether that works or not, because that is definitely left up to the techies. But I would find that hard to believe. Who would you need to talk to?
I would suggest contacting, if you're trying to put information into Commissions Inc. from another provider, contact Commissions Inc.
From Success website.
Yeah, I would suggest contacting Commissions Inc. and they would probably be able to help you figure out what you need to enter it in. You may have to have some sort of export of a spreadsheet with your information and then re-enter it.
Right.
But definitely Commissions Inc. if that's who you're trying to use.
If you send an email to Todd Walters, he will be able to put you in the right direction with the right person as well. Just because I don't want you to get somebody at Commissions Inc. that isn't familiar with Success website, whereas Todd is familiar with both. So he would be able to give you a shortcut to the answer. And
you can reach Andre at toddwalters.com would probably be the best way to get started. Andre at toddwalters.com. I know he's been helping him out. Andre.
Yeah, not as opposed to Andrea.
Right.
It's Andre.
Right, missing one letter.
Yeah, Andre at toddwalters.com. Yeah, that's a good idea, and and they'll help you with that. But you are doing the right thing. You want to have all of your leads really preferably in one contact management system is what you want to use. That way nothing falls through the cracks and you're completely organized. But it's imperative that every lead you generate is imported into that one database. So doing this little, this that's required to make that happen is really critical, and I'm glad you're doing it. We have members that have several different databases that they work from, and you know what? It's a Band-Aid approach. It really isn't efficient. So I'm glad to hear you going in that direction. Okay.
Okay, we have a question from Karen. Where is the cancellation guarantee? And I believe that's in the certificate generator. So I'm going to pull that up. So just go to Tools, Certificate Generator, and then we have...
There's Seller Cancellation Guarantee on the second from the top on the right.
Right, Seller Cancellation.
All right.
Okay.
So there'd be example. Now remember, these and all of these certificates, just as they are in writing, is pretty powerful. But remember this, it's the way that you present and articulate the guarantee that makes it so powerful. In other words, just sliding a cancellation guarantee across the table and saying, oh, here's my cancellation guarantee, by the way, is not nearly as powerful as setting this up as a huge, unique benefit, right? You want to be able to say, here's the reason that I offer this cancellation guarantee to all of my clients. It's because I want you to have peace of mind. You need to explain it so that they, on their own, come to the conclusion that you're offering something that others do not, and the reason that you're offering such a guarantee is because you do a better job than the average ordinary realtor. That's the reason. But they have to come to that conclusion, and they won't if you don't help them along. So it's really important that if you're going to offer something like a cancellation guarantee, any of the guarantees for that matter, that you really have to practice articulating. Now, when I present this, what am I going to say? How am I going to present this in the best light so that they're nodding their heads saying, wow, that's great. That really does help me. And, make some bullet points. Peace of mind. I mean, really, that's number one. Is the reason you're offering this is for peace of mind. The reason you're offering this is because they want to, quote, think about it, right? Think about it. They want to think about it. Does the cancellation guarantee allow you to think about it? Yes. Does it allow me to think about it tonight? I want to think about it tonight. You should. As a matter of fact, I'll better that. You should think about this tonight, tomorrow night, the next night, a week from now, a month from now. You should be thinking about this all the time, and you should be assessing whether I'm doing the job that you anticipated that I would do. And I want the onus to be on me to over-deliver. That's what this cancellation guarantee does. It requires me to exceed your expectations. Otherwise, without any penalty at all, you're free to cancel our agreement together. And I offer this to all my clients for their peace of mind. By the way, you mentioned that you interviewed a couple of other realtors. Did they also offer you a cancellation guarantee so that you could think about it? It's not just having the guarantee, but it's how you articulate the various guarantees as well. And this is true with all the guarantees, not just cancellation, but with any guarantee you're offering. If you were offering, I'll sell your home in 60 days guaranteed, or I'll save you $5,000. Sliding that across the table saying, here's my guarantee, is 20% of the effectiveness of the guarantee. 80% of the effectiveness of it is how you articulate why you do this. The reason that I'm doing this is because my system of marketing your property is so effective that I know with certainty that your home will be sold at a price acceptable to you, and it'll take me less than 60 days. That's why I offer this. The articulation of the guarantee is what makes it powerful. The guarantee itself represents maybe 20%. So, food for thought. Who's next?
We have a hand raised from Harry Kimbrough. I'm going to open your mic. Hold on one second. Go ahead, Harry. You're live.
Well, I just commented about that sync thing. All they have to do is speak to their sync coach, and they'll get them hooked up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on. We have a follow-up question regarding the cancellation guarantee. The seller is asking, is this coming from you, the agent, or is it from the broker? How do I answer?
It's coming from you. but you work for the broker. So the answer is both. See, listen, if you're a sales rep and you work for a broker, you need to okay this with your broker. You are a representative of the brokerage. So obviously if you're going to do something like this, you need to explain to the broker, look, when someone in this office takes a listing and the sellers a month down the road hate them and they want out of their contract, what do? They call the office complaining every day. They want out. What do you wind up doing? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, you let them out, right? Maybe you don't, but you probably would rather just let them go. So let me just get this straight. If someone's really dissatisfied, then you let them go anyway. They cancel anyway. So if we can use the cancellation guarantee knowing that we do a great job, and if people want to cancel, they cancel anyway, offering a cancellation guarantee when needed is a great way to procure listings that you otherwise may not have gotten. Because I'll tell you what, if those sellers say, no, we're not signing anything tonight, we're going to think about it, give us a call next week. Here's my question. Do you agree that the odds of you getting their listing next week dramatically decrease with every passing day? And the answer is big time. Yes, dramatically decrease with every passing day. So if I could reduce the likeliness of the prospect saying, let us think about it and we'll get back to you. If I could reduce those instances of that happening by offering this cancellation guarantee, how many additional listings could you take right then and there? Well, the answer is could be a lot. The broker wins, you win. So yes, you've got to get your broker on board with understanding why you're offering this cancellation guarantee. But the point of who is it coming from? Well, it's coming from you, right? And you are a representative of the company. So when they sign the listing, they're not signing the listing with you only. It's actually your brokerage that they're hiring, and you are the representative. So it's sort of semantics that we're focused on here. But you get the big picture. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of talk about the cancellation guarantee today, Andrea.
Yes. We have Jordan, and he says, how do I send prospects only the homes that match their exact home buying criteria? I cannot figure out how to not send undesirable properties to my clients. I would have to manually sort and approve or reject every single listing.
Well, I mean, obviously, if it's major things, here's the bottom line as well. Obviously, if they're looking for a 4-bedroom, you shouldn't be sending them 3-bedroom. That's through your MLS. You're setting up a search criteria. The bottom line is, if properties fall through the cracks, the prospect receiving more properties is more important than them not missing out on properties. So in other words, if you gave me the option, listen, I might send you a property from time to time that isn't what you want, or I could tighten this search so much that you would miss out on a property that might otherwise really interest you. What would you prefer? Now, that's an easy one. But I want you to think about something else here, Jordan. Isn't it true that every single property that you send the prospect, except for one, is of no value to the prospect because they're not going to buy it? Like, think about this. They're only going to buy one property. So that means that virtually every single property that you send them isn't a property that they're going to purchase, right? So the nature of this alone is that, yeah, you're sending them properties that they're never, ever going to buy. But I think sending them properties that, maybe don't match exactly what they're looking for, that's pretty normal, is a better scenario than instead sending them fewer properties, but the danger of missing out on sending them that one property that would have been perfect that maybe they would have liked. So I just think you need to have the basics, bedrooms, bathrooms, area, stuff like that, eliminating the definite things that they definitely don't want, those kinds of things. But yeah, sending them too many properties, it's sure better than sending them none, or missing out on the perfect property. So I Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Now, here's something else as well, is if they're that motivated, then you should be setting up showings to show them properties as well. And maybe in doing that, you would get a better understanding of more accurately what they're looking for, right? By showing them, a couple of properties, you would start to get an idea of, okay, this is obviously what they don't want and this is what they do want. And that would allow you to be able to go back and tighten up their search criteria a little bit as well. All right, who's next?
Okay, Daniel typed in, what does an administrative assistant do to free up your precious time?
Well, first of all, anything that doesn't require a real estate license. Okay, so the idea is this. When you hire an administrative person, you don't need to hire somebody that has a real estate license. As a matter of fact, you really don't need to hire anybody that has any kind of real estate background at all, which is awesome because it means you're fishing from a huge, huge pond, right? You don't need to say, I'm looking for an administrative assistant who has a real estate background. Well, now all of a sudden, you're fishing from a pond of 3 fish. Whereas if all we need is someone unlicensed and real estate experience is an asset but not necessary, now we're fishing from a huge pond and we can find really good people that are, C-type personalities. They're extremely detailed, extremely accurate, extremely consistent, and they are going to be able to take over a lot of the unlicensed administrative activity like, for example, managing your database, right? Sending out correspondence, information like that. All of these things, pulling leads from your success website, entering them in the contact management system, all of these kinds of things that don't require a license but have to get done, it would be better for this kind of a person to do. And even if you just start them off part-time and you find someone $12-15 an hour, whatever hours you give them are now hours that you have to do with, perhaps more dollar productive activity. You could use those hours to follow up with leads and book appointments. That's worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars an hour. But you can't do those things if you're busy, doing $12 an hour administrative work. So it's not only is it a must eventually, but it's really the very first person that you hire is an administrative person part-time to take over anything that doesn't require a real estate license that you could pay someone $12-15 an hour to do for you. Will make a big impact. And you know what the likeliness is? They'll do it better than you. Highly likely that whatever it is, they'll do a better job of it, a more organized job of it, a more consistent job of it than you would do because you're being pulled in a lot of different directions. So, that's your next step. When you get there, when you're busy and you realize that you don't have all the time that you would like to focus on lead generation, lead conversion, it's the administrative work that's getting in the way. And one of the exercises to determine that is called the time of your life exercise. Now, we had everybody do this when they start the coaching program. What it does is it asks you maybe every half an hour, take a couple days. I know it's a pain in the butt. A couple days. And what you're going to do is you're going to document everything that you're doing from the time you wake up in the morning. Every half an hour, you're going to write in what it is you're doing. Okay, what it is you're doing. Just jot it down real fast. Okay, now you're going to fill up your day, this day timer, in 30-minute increments. What are you doing during that time, during those half-hour slots? Write down all the things you're doing. Okay, now, at the end of the day, you're going to get home, you're going to sit down with this, and what you're going to do is you're going to, beside each one of those half-an-hour slots, you're going to write down, did this require a real estate license, yes or no? Number 2, how much is this activity worth per hour? In other words, if it was, I had a listing appointment from 12 till 2, okay, well, that's worth hundreds of dollars an hour, perhaps even thousands of dollars an hour. So that's not something you're going to delegate. Number 1, it requires a real estate license. Number 2, it's worth hundreds of dollars an hour. That's not something you're going to delegate. But there'll be other things where I was getting feature sheets made, and I was getting keys cut. Well, that's time consuming. It doesn't require a real estate license, and it pays about $12 an hour. So these are the kinds of things where when you document it all, and when you see that a huge percentage of your day is spent on $12 to $15 an hour activity that doesn't require a real estate license, you know that doing those activities are getting in the way of you focusing more on the $500 an hour activities. That's why we have you go through that exercise. And the thing is, it's true with the new agent as well. It almost doesn't matter what your production is. This is something that would have a huge impact if you were able to delegate away some of those things, even to a part-time person. Great question.
Our next question is, during last Friday's ad clinic, Lester's URL pertained to the specific ad, unclaimedproperties.com, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that up so we have a reference. It says, should we create specific URLs to match our ads?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, of course you should. You know, the domain name that you're using in the ad, the URL, should almost be an ad for the ad. In other words, the best URLs accurately describe what I'm going to get when I click on that domain name. When I click on that URL, I should already have, just by reading the URL, let me give you an example. If the URL was www.carlsbadpoolhomesforsale.com, would that give you a pretty good guess as to what I'm going to get if I were to log on to www.carlsbadpoolhomesforsale.com? Right? It accurately describes what is being offered, and it's not salesy. It's information. So that is a good domain name, is one where it is descriptive of what's being offered. So let's take a look at this one. This one is www.unclaimedpropertieslist.com. Now maybe unclaimed property list. I might like the sound of that a little bit better. This one is unclaimed homes. Orange County unclaimed homes receive a free list with pics of unclaimed properties. Top dollar, and then above that it says, want top dollar for your Saddleback Valley home. You know, the one thing I would recommend is this: in your domain name, you want to include a geographical location for two reasons. One is, to that prospect, the information is more specific to them, which makes it better information. Okay, but also what it does is it makes it more likely that the domain name is available. In other words, if you did a search for unclaimedpropertieslist.com, it's probably taken. You know, the domain name is taken. But if you were to do www.ocunclaimedpropertieslist.com, there's more likeliness that that would be available. And of course, OC stands for Orange County. And you could do that with any area. You could have it say www.unclaimedpropertiesinoc.com. Right, so including the area in the domain name makes the likeliness of the domain name being available greater. And it makes it more specific to a person who lives in Orange County that's reading the ad. But I like this one a lot, unclaimed homes. I'm not certain that where this ad ran is the best place to run it. You know, it's surrounded by an editorial ad above it, you know, in the newspaper, but it's a test. This could also be run online. Anywhere prospects are looking for homes for sale, the perception of unclaimed homes is a good deal. And now, of course, an unclaimed home is just a home that hasn't been sold.
And this was shown on Friday's clinic. This is one of the ads that Lester Cox gave us to look at, and yes, the same information you just said. And one of the things they discussed was you'll get a lot of questions of what are unclaimed homes, and that was one of the draws of this headline.
Yeah, unclaimed homes are, I mean, but here's the thing, is what is the purpose of an ad? The purpose of the ad is to attract a prospect. So if you're on the phone with a prospect and the prospect says, what's an unclaimed home? Well, an unclaimed home is a property that hasn't been purchased yet, that might be an excellent deal available for sale, but hasn't been sold. So for example, would you be interested in bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, distress sales, probates, properties recently reduced in price, private sales, pocket listings from other realtors in the marketplace that haven't hit the market? Would you be interested in those types of deals that match what you and your family are looking for? The prospect's going to say yes to that. Those are all unclaimed properties, right? I mean, this is easy, but by that point, the prospect has already responded to the offer. The ad did its job. It got a prospect to raise their hand, and that's the purpose of the ad. Get the prospect to raise their hand. Sorry, Andrea, go ahead.
No, I was just taking a breath. I'm so sorry.
You're allowed.
Didn't realize my mic was open.
You are allowed to take a breath. Okay. Who's next then?
Our next question comes from Karen. Before you send out postcards, do you recommend having a hotline number?
Yeah, you definitely want to have if you're going to do anything in print, so we'll call direct mail print, what you want is you want to give two options. So you want to have an online option and you want to have a hotline option. So there will be prospects that will prefer to get information by picking up the phone and calling to get it. We don't want to eliminate those prospects. Not only that, but here's what you'll very likely find. Using your hotline, you will get a good quality prospect, and you'll get a higher percentage of prospects that actually leave a message, that actually request the information. Now, let me explain why. When you run an ad that says something like this, find out what homes in your neighborhood are selling for. Free area home sales report. Call 24 hours for free recorded information requesting a list of these properties. Okay, now, when you run an ad like that, virtually every single consumer that picks up the phone is expecting to leave a message. You cannot get a free report by listening to a hotline. You can only get that report by leaving a message at the end of the hotline. So the overwhelming majority of the prospects that pick up the phone are following the instructions. They're calling in to order their free report. So therefore, if 10 prospects pick up the phone, it isn't unlikely that 7 or 8 of them are going to leave a message requesting the area home sales report. Now, let's contrast that with the website. Here's the difference. When I offer an online home evaluation and the prospect goes onto the website, they're expecting immediately to see the properties, or to get the online home evaluation. So they want immediate gratification. Now, there is a percentage of those prospects that when they find out that what they're doing is they're ordering this information, then they will leave. So you're not getting 70-80% of the prospects that go onto your website. You're only getting a small fraction of the prospects to actually request the information on the website. Now, you'll get more of them, but that's the difference between the two. So what is the solution? It's both. On one side of your direct mail, you're going to have something like this. Find out what your home is worth online. You're going to have your website. On the other side of the postcard, you can have something more like this. Find out what homes in your neighborhood are selling for, and you're going to, it says here, to receive a free computerized area home sales report, call, and you've got your 1-800 number with the ID code, 24-hour recorded information, right? 24-hour recorded message. So that way, you're getting the best of both. And really, with all print advertising, you should be offering both. If you're running an ad anywhere where it's printed as opposed to online. If you're running the ad online, the prospect can simply click to get the information. So that's a better approach.
Okay, our next question from Ellen. Is there a home purchase or home selling flow chart in our coaching materials?
I'm not sure. Now, maybe that would refer to the activity plans, perhaps.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's probably what you want to look at are the activity plans that go in your contact management system. So in other words, you're using a contact manager that has a database with all of your clients, prospects, sphere of influence. Everybody's in this database. And what you're doing with each individual person is you're assigning a plan to that person depending on who they are and what they're doing. So you went out this weekend and you took on a brand new listing. That person that represents this brand new listing, you're going to attach to them an activity plan. The activity plan for them would be, okay, well, let's use the example, since Andrea has it up here, of a buyer. So you signed a buyer to a buyer contract. So now that person is attached to the buyer plan. What does the buyer plan do? Well, the buyer plan, what it does is it assures that everything is going to happen at the correct time and nothing falls through the cracks. So send the buyer profile criteria to the database manager. Everything is documented here, not only what, but when and who is going to do it. All of the calls to that prospect, all right, are all in the activity plan. So automatically on your day timer, these plans are going to show up on the appropriate day so that they actually happen. And that would be true with any plan, whether it's a listing plan, as we're looking at right now, right? Order, sign, install first thing. Now, let me ask you something like that. Order the sign installation. Number one, my question is, do you need a real estate license to do that? No. What could you pay somebody to do that? Is that like a $100 an hour job, or would that be more like a $12 to $15 an hour job? So you can see there are all kinds of things that have to get done, and this is true with every plan, with a prospect, with a listing client, with a past client. There's a plan that goes with every scenario, and you're attaching the plan to the person that is appropriate. All right, so in this case, it's a listing. Andrea, show everybody where you've gotten this on the coaching website.
Okay, I went to the file library, under libraries, file library, and I just typed in action. And then the first one, ID number 13, Craig's Agent Office Action Plans. And as you can see, it has every single listing plan that he ever used. And then Ellen has raised her hand. Maybe she needs a little clarification, so I thought we could go to her quickly. Ellen, your line is open.
Hi there. What I was asking about, the action plans are wonderful. I was asking whether there is a flow chart that we can give to buyers or sellers, because these people don't really understand. They'd like a roadmap of this process that they are embarking on. They don't understand the process. I've had a few little flow charts that I've had in materials in the past. I'm not terribly satisfied with them. Buyers have been very appreciative. I don't want to go through the exercise of developing a new one or two if it's already there someplace.
Yeah, you know.
So the buyer would like to know, I have to do this,
one,
and then I have to,
right,
you know.
the one thing that comes to mind, and I don't know, Andrea, I don't know if you could find this, Andrea, but what comes to mind is this. There is a document that lists all of the things that need to get done in order to market and sell your property. Do you know what I'm talking about, Andrea?
The first thing that comes to mind is
there's like 120 different things, different activities that need to get done to market the property. So I feel like this is the direction that we're kind of going in here, right? And you know, you're almost articulating all of this in your listing presentation up front, and then it sounds like where you're is once you've shown them everything that you're doing, it's like you're then giving it to them so that they have this for reference throughout the process. And you know, I have to tell you, that isn't something that we do. It's not something that we did. But maybe this is something that would make you feel more comfortable. Let me tell you what we did that is better. Craig hired, not immediately, but eventually, Craig hired really, it was a listing coordinator, somebody whose job it was to be in touch with all of the sellers on a regular basis throughout the week, updating them on everything that's happening with their property. Okay, so there are a number of ways that you can do this. So every showing, they call the agent that showed the property. They get feedback from that agent, and then they pass that feedback along to the seller. So the seller is kept abreast of everything that's going on with their property. Every ad that's being run, every response to the ad, every call off the sign. They are updated on every single bit of information about their property, and they're updated by a human being that Craig has hired to do that. Now, let's just say that for most, that's a position maybe in the future, but not right now. So here's another way of doing that. What you can do is you can set up a mailbox on your hotline. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith have mailbox number 999. Okay, so here's how this works. At the time of listing, what you're going to do is you're going to share this with them. I am going to constantly be updating your mailbox with information about your property. Okay, so every time I show the property, every time a buyer calls on the property, every time another realtor wants to show it, every feedback I get on the property, every time we run an ad promoting your property for sale, everything that happens on your property will be updated in your mailbox for you personally. This is mailbox 999. Okay, now, when you call into the 800 number and you enter mailbox 999, you and only you can listen to every message that I put in there, updating you on anything new with your property and what's happening with your property, with showings, with all of those things. If at any time you're listening and you have a question about something, you hit 0, it'll immediately be connected to me, and I can help you right there. Now, if you included that in your listing presentation, do you think that would be pretty valuable?
Definitely.
That you could do that. Well, you could do that very, very easily.
Yes, this is what I wanted.
Thank you, Harry.
This is terrific.
This is very good.
Can you post that, Andrea?
I can actually email it to you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Now, this is with the buyers, and what you want is this exactly with the sellers?
I was specifically asking about buyers. I think it would be wonderful.
Okay.
But this is great. This saves me a lot of time.
Good. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Harry.
You'll have to thank one of my assistants. I'm not that good at putting that stuff together.
Well, they did a great job. They did a great job. Okay, let's keep going, Andrea.
Okay, Harry, I left your line open. Did you have any other questions, or was that it?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Harry.
Okay, our next question. Where can I find the certificate of $500 cash towards escrow?
Under the certificates. So under tools, under certificate generator. And of course, you can change the amount to whatever amount you want. So this would probably be, if it's a buyer, it would be the $5,000 savings certificate, or I'll pay you $500 towards your closing costs, what have you. Save on, go to the one on the left side, second from the bottom.
Save on home. Okay.
All right, so there it is. Okay, so now you can monkey with the amounts, right? So whatever savings on your home purchase guarantee, or I pay you $500, you can change the $500 to whatever you want. You can change the $5,000 to whatever you want. It's your guarantee. You make the rules. But I think that's what you're looking for.
Okay. Herman, if that is not what you're looking for, just let us know. We'll see what we can do to find it. And I'm getting a lot of our members saying, hey, can I have a copy of the flow chart from Harry? And yes, you can. I will email it to you. Give me about 24 hours to get everybody's email address, and anybody who's requested it in the chat box, I'll send it to you via email.
That's great.
Okay, let's see. I believe that we have no more questions. We covered them all. The rest are just requests for the flow chart, so I'll get those to everybody who wants them.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, Harry, for that. That's obviously very, very helpful. And maybe we can put that in the file library so it's there forever and ever. Would probably be the best thing to do. We can do that, Andrea. We have the technology, don't we?
Yes, it's very easy. I can do it within, as soon as we're done here, I'll go ahead and load it up, but I will also email it to the ones who have requested it.
That's great. That's great. Okay, well, Thursday, we're going to do our role play session. Back and forth, we're going to take as many role plays as we can. And, you know, it's funny, when we do the role play, it's so easy to have one person volunteer and then to really analyze their role play, and all of a sudden you look and one person we spent 35 minutes with, and it can be really, you know, instructive for people. But what I want to do this Thursday, what I'm really going to try to do this Thursday, is I want to bang out as many as we can. So, you know, we'll offer our critique, but we're going to keep it really quick, and I want to go bang, 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 one after the other, role play, role play, role play, role play. What I'm hoping is that some of you that otherwise wouldn't volunteer are going to, you know, raise your hand and say, okay, I'll give it a shot and I will do this. Because I'll tell you what, if you can be really good at using the universal callback script in this kind of a forum, it's much more difficult than when you're actually getting on the phone and calling back the prospects. All right, this is a little more, you know, sort of threatening, for lack of a better word. So I highly recommend that you do it, and I assure you that we will present you with a critique that is very, you know, usable. You can take it and become better instantaneously because we're hearing what you're saying. So anyway, we'll do that on Thursday. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll look at your ads. So, Andrea, thanks so much for your help. Thanks to everyone for participating. A big thanks to Harry and his team for the flowchart. That was cool. And we'll talk to everybody later on in the week.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful afternoon. Talk to you all very soon. This officially ends the helpline for today.